My next guest thinks we might just see a bubble in gold in the next 5 years. He's Jordan Roy Byrne, a speaker here at the San Francisco Hard Asset Show and editor of the Daily Gold. Jordan, thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, Danielle, thanks for having me. It's very kind of you to invite me.
Absolutely, Jordan. Thanks for being with us. And let's get your thoughts as to why you think we might see a bubble in gold emerge soon. Well, 5 years.
Well, the reason, simply put, is looking at the way bull markets evolve and focusing a little bit more on the gold stocks and comparing them to past bull markets and the way the bull markets in Japan and gold stocks in the 60s, 70s, tech stocks, the way those bull markets evolved and the way all bull markets evolve is essentially you have 3 phases. I'll go over this quickly. The first phase, you have a market rises for about 5 to 7 years, and then you have a wall of worry phase that lasts anywhere from 4 to 5.5 years, where the equities essentially, they have their first big correction or first big crash. And so then you're kind of in a wall of worry phase until 12, 13, 14 years into the bull market. And in that phase, valuations come down because companies continue to make more money, but stock prices aren't making new highs. So that's kind of where we are now for the equities. And it's similar. If you compare the value of gold and the gold stocks to the S&P 500, they're following a similar pattern as what we saw in the 60s, 70s bull market, where they've been outperforming steadily, but kind of slowly for the first 12, 13 years or so. And then at the end, you see a huge sudden increase where a lot of money pours into that bull market, which would be the mining equities and, of course, gold and silver, the metals.
So let's focus on that for a second. As you mentioned, gold outperforming the S&P for what? It's been like the past 9 years running or more. Can we expect more of that, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, over the next couple weeks or couple months, I mean, of course, stocks or the S&P can outperform. I mean, focusing on the next 5, 6, or maybe even 7 years or so, it's going to continue to outperform. But I will mention, actually, looking at gold against the S&P right now, I think it's actually very close to a bottom. So over the next several months, I think gold is going to start to strongly outperform stocks once again.
So Jordan, you're a technical analyst. Let's look at some key numbers for gold that you're looking at right now.
Well, looking at gold, we have resistance at 1,800. And a quick point about the exploration stocks, because I know we have many of those companies here, they consistently outperform when gold breaks to a new high. So the old high is 1,900. We have a lot of resistance at 1,800. So my opinion is a lot of these companies here, which, I mean, some of the share prices have been kind of dead. Investors and speculators are losing interest. I think when gold goes over 1,800 and gets close to challenging 1,900, you'll start to see more interest pick up in the exploration stocks. And gold does have support, of course, at around 1,550 and in the low 1,600s. But given the decline we've seen in the last week or so, there is some technical damage there in the metals, in the shares. So I think it's possible on Friday we hit a short-term bottom, but I think over the next couple months we could see some consolidation. And so people should, over that next couple months or quarter or two, over that period, people should temper their expectations. But certainly the long term over the next 2-3 years looks excellent.
Jordan, you were saying that I think in May we saw really the bottom of gold, right?
Right, it was a major bottom. And if you look at so many like sentiment indicators, fund flows, commitment of traders reports, and also valuations, for example, on the senior producers, all of those things which we saw in May were very similar to 2 other bottoms. Those bottoms at the end of 2000, which was the beginning of the bull market, and then, of course, at the end of 2008. So what we saw earlier this year, I strongly believe was a major bottom. And even though we have seen a little weakness here in the last couple weeks, over the long term, it's really nothing to worry about. The lows are going to hold up.
So Jordan, let me ask you, how do you play the market right now? Do you think it's still an opportunity to be buying gold?
Absolutely. And as I just said previously, one trade you could look at is going long gold and short the equities, because the long-term viability of that continues to look fantastic. But in the last year or so, the S&P and stocks have been outperforming gold.
Right.
But that outperformance has stopped, and so it looks like gold is beginning to outperform again. So that's one idea. Okay. As far as the companies, you have to remember that companies that are not making money, that are not producing, those are speculations. So those are a gamble. You have to be very careful. I mean, I prefer to focus on what I call growth-oriented producers and the royalty companies, because those types, they consistently give you leverage and consistently can outperform the metals over time.
So, Jordan, let me ask you, let's look next 6 months. What kind of trading range are you looking at for gold?
Well, I don't have a chart in front of me, but I would probably, roughly speaking, I would say 1600 to 1900. And I think that's the realistic worst case scenario would be we consolidate for a long time between those levels.
Okay. Some quick targets on silver?
Silver, I think there's a possible upside target at about 35 or so. That's where we have resistance. And then there's support at about 30 or 31 or so.
Okay. Jordan, thanks so much for your time. And where can people get more information on your subscription?
Oh, they can go to thedailygold.com, or they can send me an email at jordan@thedailygold.com.
Okay, thank you, Jordan.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And thanks for watching our coverage from the San Francisco Hard Asset Show. We'll have more for you on Kitco.com. In the meantime, you can email me any comments or questions at newsfeedback@kitco.com or tweet me at Daniela Cambone. Thanks for watching.